Good morning, everyone from Madison, Wisconsin. I'm Richard Davidson, and I'm the founder and director of the Center for Healthy Minds and the founder of Healthy Minds Innovations, our nonprofit associated with our center. And it's really a joy to be with you today again in this series of meditation practices that we've been offering each weekday. As you are joining us today, please use the chat box and let us know where you're from, and maybe say a word about how you're feeling right now, one or two words, so that we can know who is joining and how you're feeling at the moment. The pandemic is been now going on for quite some time and will continue for the foreseeable future. So this is certainly a time that continues to be a very uncertain one. People are now starting to join from Chicago, from parts of Wisconsin. And as we are settling in, I'd like to take a few moments to share a little with you about our organizations and what we do. Our mission is of our center is to cultivate well-being and relieve suffering through a scientific understanding of the mind. And our nonprofit, Healthy Minds Innovations, has as its mission to take the insights from the research and turn them into tools that can be used to cultivate and measure well-being at scale. It's great to see many of you joining from many different places, and please let us know how you're feeling right now, one or two words. Some have indicated the importance of social connection being felt now more than ever, which I certainly think is true. One of the important recognitions that many of us have had is that the phrase social distancing is really not a well-chosen phrase by our public health officials. We're being asked to physically distance, but we can remain socially connected at the same time that we are physically distant. And I would certainly encourage all of you to harness the power of the technology that we do have available to sustain our social connections, which are ever more important during this time. So a little bit about our center and our nonprofit and what we do. We've developed a framework for understanding well-being that has four pillars. The first is awareness, which would include mindfulness. The second is connection, which is about the qualities that nurture positive social relationships. The third is about insight, which is the topic for this week, and I'll come back to that in a moment. And the fourth is purpose, identifying one's true north and aligning our everyday behavior with that sense of purpose. So people are now joining from all over the world, from the Philippines, from Rio de Janeiro, worried, uncertain, embracing uncertainty, tired of looking at pages, feeling content, lots of variation in how many of us are feeling. As I mentioned, this week we're focusing on insight. Insight is referring to self-knowledge, to understanding at a very deep level how our minds work, and particularly how this narrative that is such a central feature of our minds is put together. and the narrative is largely about ourselves. And so gaining a really deep appreciation for the nature of this narrative and how the thoughts and feelings associated with this narrative shape our ongoing behavior is really so important. So with this as a little bit of introduction and seeing folks from all over now joining, from Uruguay, from Taiwan, from Madison, Wisconsin, from New Mexico, lots of different places that come together for this remarkable community. So let's find an upright posture, and we can sit with our eyes open or closed, whichever is most comfortable. Since most of us are presumably looking at a screen, I find for these practices it's helpful to keep eyes closed. We have so much screen time these days. And let's bring our awareness into the present moment. Sitting in an upright, but not too tight and not too loose posture, dignified. And as we begin this period of practice, let's try to find an altruistic motive for our practice, recognizing that calming our minds and opening our hearts is important not only for our own benefit, but for the benefit of all of those around us, all of those that we touch directly or indirectly. So let's see if we can find this altruistic motive for our practice today. And now let's begin this practice with simple awareness, bringing awareness into the body, and noticing whatever may be present, not trying to change, alter, fix anything, simply being aware, resting our natural awareness in our body, and noticing whatever sensations may be arising. They may be pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. Whatever they are, simply bringing awareness into the body. Let's bring awareness to our sit bones and feel ourselves grounded, our feet on the floor if we're sitting in a chair. And let's take a couple of deep breaths. Inhaling and exhaling whatever tension we may be holding. Again, inhaling and a long, deep exhale. And now let's bring our mind to all of the many causes and conditions, events, people that needed to occur to enable us to be here right now. First, appreciating the body. We couldn't be sitting here without a body. Our breath. We couldn't be here without being alive. We are sitting on something, presumably. It may be a chair, a cushion, a floor, a mat. Whatever it might be, there are people who presumably crafted whatever object upon which we're sitting. And bringing our awareness to this group. Most of us are probably sitting within a structure, likely our homes, but maybe another place. Could be outside, near our home. Many of us are sitting now in a space with a roof over our heads. And there are workers, craftsmen, who put all those structures in place. And then there are the long series of causes and conditions which brought each of you to this specific practice. Maybe you had a friend who first introduced you to meditation, a family member. Maybe you had a teacher who helped introduce you to this path. Maybe it was your spouse or your child or your parent. And then for some of you, there were presumably a number of such people who helped to nurture your engagement over time. So let's spend a couple of minutes together reflecting on the extraordinary web of interconnecting causes and conditions that allow us to be here right now, together, at this moment. And recognizing that these causes and conditions are present all the time. Usually, in the absence of recognition, in the absence of awareness. And so our invitation today is to bring all of this to the forefront so that we can see it, become aware of it, recognize it. No need to try to change any of it. To fix any of it. Simply to recognize this amazing web of interconnectivity that enables each of us to be here today. And now let's drop this reflection and simply rest for a few moments in open awareness, not doing anything in particular, not fixating on anything in particular, simply being aware. And observing whatever is arising. One of the opportunities in cultivating insight is the opportunity to more deeply understand and appreciate the range of automatic thoughts, particularly in association with ourselves, which are continuously operating in the background and shape how we see others, how we experience the world, how we treat others. And gaining more insight into these automatic thoughts and how they work is a really essential piece of cultivating well-being, so that we can diminish the likelihood of being slaves to these thoughts, having them hijack our emotions and our behavior, and simply being able to see them for what they are. So in this next period of practice, let's begin by simply noticing whatever thoughts may be present in our mind. And again, the invitation here is not to in any way alter these thoughts, not to block them, not to change them, but simply to be aware. And as we do this, let's bring a person in our lives into our mind. And this could be anyone. It might be someone you live with. It might be someone you work with. It might be someone who is very close to you. It might be someone who causes a little difficulty. Whoever arises initially, bring this person into your mind. And as you bring them into your mind, simply notice whatever thoughts and feelings may be occurring. And again, the invitation is not to change any of these thoughts, but simply to notice the thoughts that are associated with this person. Every time we bring this person into our mind, these thoughts happen all the time. We're simply unaware of them most of the time. Yet they exact a significant influence on our experience and on our behavior. And becoming aware of them and understanding that our experience is shaped by them is a very important source of transformation. And we can bring one other person into our mind. And again, notice whatever thoughts or feelings may arise as we bring this person into our mind. And this practice is a wonderful way to introduce ourselves to the operations, to the mechanics of our mind as it operates all the time. And by bringing awareness to these automatic thoughts, we can begin to loosen their grip by simply bringing awareness. Now, in these last few minutes of practice, we can let go of this reflection. And as we do in each one of our practices, we always want to dedicate whatever merit, whatever insight, whatever benefit we may have derived, and bring it out into the world for the benefit of others. So let's spend a few moments reflecting on how these insights about insight, about our interconnectedness, and also about our automatic thoughts. How can we bring these out into the world for the benefit of others? Maybe even reflecting in a very concrete way. What might you say to the person that you are bringing into your mind the next time you see this person? So for those of you whose eyes have been closed, please now open them. And as we open our eyes in this transition, let's see if we can retain this sense of open presence as we transition back into our daily or evening, wherever you may be, routines. And as we come out of this period of practice, for those who wish, please tell us how you might be feeling right now. In the chat box, you can enter a word or two. And as we're coming back together, let me remind you that we have been offering daily practices on weekdays, Monday through Friday. The Monday practice is in in Spanish. The others are in English. The Spanish practice is offered for our Spanish-speaking friends and viewers in many different parts of the world. And I also wanted to mention that just a few days ago, I participated in a wonderful interview with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, of course remotely from Dharamsala, India, with Dan Harris of ABC News and 10% Happier. And there are already some excerpts of those interviews online. You can go to them. And it will be shown on ABC Nightline at some point in the next few days. We're not exactly sure which day it will be shown, but it will be shown soon. And we encourage you, if you're interested, to please tune in. We also have an app called the Healthy Minds Program, where you'll find many of these practices. This app has been created by our nonprofit organization, Healthy Minds Innovations. And we encourage you to please download the app. It's available free due to the generosity of our donors. And we encourage you to explore it. And if you find it helpful to maintain your daily practice, that really is our wish. You can also take an assessment tool on the app to learn more about your 4 pillars of well-being and what your strengths are and where you might wish to do more practice. So there are wonderful comments coming in. We really appreciate that. People are reporting more openness, shifting focus to more positive thoughts and feelings. Some have expressed surprise at what they can see. All really wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. And thank you for joining in today. This will be online after we finish, so for those of you who have friends and relatives you'd like to have practice with this, please feel free to take them to this link. So thank you all so much. May you all have a good rest of your day or evening, and may you all stay safe and healthy. And I look forward to being with you again soon. Thank you so much.